Welcome back. Today I want to talk again about heart rate variability resonance, and to do it, we're going to use a wrench. Very fun. So first off, let's talk about the breath and the heart. So here we have a little hill. We're going over this hill, and as we go over the crest of the hill, that's the in-breath. And as we go slide down into the nice valley, that is the out-breath. That in-breath is actually stimulating the sympathetic system, and that out-breath is stimulating the parasympathetic system very beautifully, just really, really beautiful. And that's why the out breath is so important. That's why it has to be longer than the in breath every single time. It has to be longer. It can be 1 second longer, 2 seconds longer, 3, 4, 5, 6, but it has to be longer. You have to accentuate that parasympathetic system. What's happening is the diaphragm is pushing the air out, and so it's going up. It's pushing on the lungs, and that creates more pressure on the entire rib cage. The thoracic cavity has increased pressure, and that pressure actually translates backwards to the dorsal vagal complex, and it's laying right against the spine. So that's why when the yogi feels it, it feels like it's in his actual spine, because it's laying right up against it. So that parasympathetic system is being accentuated. That's why the out breath is longer. That's why we're taking long breaths, because we want to accentuate that out breath, that parasympathetic system. We are awakening and stimulating that dorsal vagal complex. And that's what puts us into resonance between the breath and the heart, that stimulation with each out breath. The parasympathetic system is stimulated. So the heart and the breath begin to act in resonance. And you can feel this yourself. If you take a long breath out and then wait, you will feel your lungs wanting to take another breath. And if you feel it more deeply, you'll feel that it's in your heart. Your heart is actually asking for another breath. And that's because it needs that sympathetic system again. And all of this is regulated by the medulla. The medulla is the breath center in the body. That's why if you're going to concentrate on something in the brain, you're much better off in the beginning concentrating on the medulla, because you will be automatically affecting both the heart and the breath. All of those are tied together. The heart, the breath, and the medulla. They're all tied together within your nervous system. So when you concentrate on the medulla, you're affecting all of that. That entire system is being relaxed. The medulla will send a signal to the heart, and the heart will talk to the medulla, and back and forth, and all of this mixes with the breath. And that's why in the resonance between the breath and the heart, you are working with both the medulla and the heart as you work with the breath. You can't reach in and wrench on your medulla, and you can't reach in and wrench on your heart, but you can grab the handle of your breath and affect both. So I didn't have access to all my tools, so I actually went to Home Depot so I could get a wrench, just so I could show you this, because I think it's a perfect metaphor to understand what's going on inside of us ourselves as we are enacting resonance using the handle of our breath. And it's a great metaphor for the breath and what we're doing with heart rate variability resonant breathing. Because as we breathe in, that's the part that doesn't move the bolt, right? That's the sympathetic system. So the medulla is largely in charge for your CO2 tolerance. So it's going to tell you when you need another breath. And you will feel it. As a yogi, you will feel it in your heart. And you can do this right now. Just breathe out, don't breathe in, and see which part of your anatomy seems to crave another breath. That's the medulla and the heart saying we need more sympathetic stimulation. And so as that happens, we breathe in. And then we're going to use the ratchet of our breath, the biggest handle in the room. There's no other handle which is so big to create change for the yogi. There's nothing else. Maybe Ketcheri, but even Ketcheri will not work properly without establishing resonance between the heart and the breath. That's why everybody talks about pranayama and how important it is. It's huge. It's the biggest handle in the room. What other handle are you going to use? This is it. And so you ratchet down using the parasympathetic system. We ratchet down, we go down into that valley, and it deeply stimulates the dorsal vagal complex. And then the heart will ask for another breath, right? So we take an in-breath, we stimulate the sympathetic system, and then we ratchet ourselves down through the dorsal vagal complex, stimulating the deep parasympathetic system. And each time that we do this, we are stimulating, awakening that dorsal vagal complex more and more. And we begin to get the 4 proofs, right? The hands get hot and heavy. Remember, HHH, so important. Then maybe the lips begin to tingle as we sit very still. Always sit very still, right? SVS, sit very still. So you get the HHH, the hands hot and heavy. And how do we do it? AMOL, Amal. Always make the out breath longer. All right? That's how this works. So easy, so simple, so beautiful. And so the heart is going to ask for more breath. That's the sympathetic system. And then we ratchet down. We create our change in the parasympathetic dorsal vagal complex with the longer out breath, stimulating that parasympathetic. It's so simple. Stimulating, awakening the dorsal vagal complex with the out breath. Why does it work? Because the diaphragm is up. It's squeezing out the lungs. It's putting pressure on the thoracic cavity. That pressure translates all the way backwards to the dorsal vagal complex. It lays right along the spine. And so the yogi, he feels it, and he feels it. Hey, he says, this is in my spine. Of course he does. That's where he feels it, because the dorsal vagal complex lays right along the spine. And that's the 3rd proof, isn't it? And then finally, the skin may begin to tingle. The whole skin may begin to tingle. And all of the 4 proofs are blissful. So now you're in meditation and you're experiencing the bliss of the body in the 4 proofs. And you know deeply that you have resonance between the breath and the heart. Breath goes in, stimulation of the sympathetic system. We need that balance between the two, but we want more of the dorsal vagal complex, and so we accentuate that nice, long out breath. And then a very interesting thing will happen. The heart and the medulla will begin to reset. By our practice, our CO2 tolerance increases, and the work of the whole body is lowered. And so the heart will actually begin to ask for less breath, less stimulation. So instead of a lot of sympathetic system, we just get a little less sympathetic stimulation and more parasympathetic stimulation. And then again, less sympathetic stimulation, more parasympathetic stimulation in the dorsal vagal complex. And just like that, the breath goes down. And that's the secret of the tranquil breath. That's how it works. We are ratcheting ourselves into the tranquil breath, into a very low idle of the body. So here's a little story about this. I just got a text from a student that's all the way in Australia. And I've never actually met them face to face, but they've been following my YouTube. They've been taking my 2 trainings, and they're just doing beautifully. And they said, well, I'm seeing the spiritual eye every single time, and I'm not sure how I should go forward into the cave of the spiritual eye. I said, wow, great. I said, so are you in the tranquil breath? Yes. Wow, great. Are you also in the freeze response? Yes. Wow. And you feeling yourself roll up into the brain? Yes. Wow. So you have the spiritual eye, the tranquil breath, the roll up into the brain, and the freeze response all together. They have everything that they need, and they are winning the yogic war, the war of the chakras, the war of the Bhagavad Gita, the war of Kurukshetra. They're winning it. That's winning it. When you have all those things, you're winning that war. And how did they do it? That's it. That's how they did it. They used the breath. They used the heart rate variability resonant breathing. It's the secret to all of it. That's what sets up these dominoes to begin to fall in place. And so I was blown away how deep they've gone. I'm amazed. So it's a testimony to the way that this works. It's a testimony to being able to understand that resonance between the breath and the heart, what it's doing to the medulla and what it's doing to the heart. And you can feel it on the inside. You can accentuate that parasympathetic system, and you will feel less need to take that big gulp of breath. It's going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. And suddenly you'll find yourself in the tranquil breath, in a very shallow, easy breath. So I'm just amazed. I'm so proud of you. I really, really am. There's so many great yogis on this channel, and God, I just love you all. So thank you so much. God bless. And if you like this video, be sure to hit that bell down below so I can see all of you next time.